We have some breaking news from Utah that we want to get to right now. Shots fired during a speech by right-wing activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University in Orem. This happened really just moments ago. Kirk was about 20 minutes into his speech when shots were fired from a nearby building. According to the university, there are reports that Kirk was hit, but as far as they know, but we're not clear on them as of right now. Joining us now, NBCNews.com politics reporter Alan Smith. We want to be very careful until we get everything confirmed. There are a lot of lawmakers out there right now, though, saying pray for Charlie Kirk. There are videos as well, but to be abundantly careful as this information is coming in, we're not going to confirm anything at this time. What can you tell us about Charlie Kirk? What was he doing at the university?
Well, he was on tour giving one of the speeches as part of his group, Turning Point USA. The video showed that the crowd there was quite large. There were a lot of people who were in attendance. Not unusual. I mean, he's one of the most influential conservative leaders really in the MAGA movement nationwide. So this definitely comes as a surprise. Again, there's a lot that we really don't know yet. I know we were just talking about the federal takeover in Washington. That began after a member of the Doge team was allegedly assaulted in Washington. So it's going to be interesting to see what conservative leaders want to do there after this episode.
Yeah, we're showing, by the way, our affiliate in Utah and the aftermath of the shooting. You could see people running away pretty quickly, as you would imagine they would do at gunshots. The FBI director, Kash Patel, has weighed in on this. He just tweeted the following: "We're closely monitoring reports of the tragic shooting involving Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. Our thoughts are with Charlie, his loved ones, and everyone affected. Agents will be on the scene quickly, and the FBI stands in full support of the ongoing response and the investigation." Charlie Kirk is a divisive figure, polarizing, lightning rod, whatever term you want to use. Why?
Well, he's one of MAGA's most prominent voices online. He hosts a near daily podcast. He opines on almost everything. He's been very closely aligned with the president since his initial run for office in 2015, 2016. And his ties to Trump really elevated his own brand. He was really quite young as an activist when the president launched his initial campaign. And he has kind of ridden along with MAGA since 2016 and built up a massive, massive brand of his own. His group has brought in tons and tons of money, and really he has become, especially among younger people, right, one of the biggest voices that's on the right now.
They operate a network of chapters across the country. Turning Point USA does over 3,500 universities nationwide. Earlier this year, Turning Point hosted a student action summit in Tampa, Florida, that amassed over 5,000 attendees. Why has he gotten so much support on these college campuses? You know, I was talking actually to my son about this, and he said Charlie Kirk, in his belief, is the only young politician that is out there that meets kids where they are. He's not a politician, but affiliated with politics. And that the response to that has been pretty overwhelming.
I mean, he's really filling a void, right? Like, there have not been very many younger conservatives who have spent as much time in and around college campuses as Charlie Kirk has. And that was the initial purpose of his entire group, even before he had become attached to Trump and much more closely aligned with MAGA. The whole idea he had to start with was, let's convert younger college kids to the conservative cause. And he has spent really the last decade, building out this network very specifically on college campuses. And I mean, look, you look at the videos of this shooting from today and the crowd there. I mean, it looks like it was at least several hundred, if not more than 1,000 people who were in attendance just to hear him speak.